Hello folks, it's time for some more hobby nightmares. Let's have some fun, shall we, with Jordan, who has sent in a rather lengthy one, but I've read half of it last night when I was in bed, just chilling out, so I think now's the time to jump in and read the rest. But obviously I'll catch you up first on what's been going on. So, Jordan says, "Hello, O Northerner." Hello, Jordan. "Call me Jordan." Okay. "I am a yard-loving Yank from Wyoming." I don't know what that means. That is an Americanism, and I don't know what it means. "I've been watching your channel off and on for the better part of 2 years now. I have a brief history with playing 40k from when I was younger, and you telling stories about tabletop hobbies kept my interest in your channel. Thank you very much. There is another YouTuber by the name of Dry Creek Wrangling. I watch him quite a lot. And he's also from Wyoming, or at least he's not from Wyoming. He's working in Wyoming. His Wrangler school is in Wyoming. Anyway, your videos are always a good thing to listen to while slaving away. My co-workers thought me a bit strange after I burst out laughing whenever you read something particularly ridiculous in your videos coming through my earpiece. Like when a poor female Games Workshop employee was treated to Nurgle's gift in the face, and the one giving the gift hadn't noticed. It was just you and I retroactively sharing a giggle. I've seen you present photos of people's miniatures before, and as a relatively new hobby painter myself, I'd like to hear what you think of the ones I've attached. Thanks." Okay, let's have a look. There was a really cool Imperial Fist army that I've been sent. One of my lovely moderators, Kaya, has made sure that I've got those because they didn't appear on the email last time, and I will be doing those on Wednesday, mate. So if you are out there, person who sent me those, I will be doing them on Wednesday. So let's have a look-see, shall we? Our first is of a... Oh, okay. It is I like non-GW models, and I think non-GW models are pretty cool when we get them in there. Now, I think a model like this, it's kind of shown me that I would also struggle to paint a figure like this. Dude, I am not... You don't realise how much easier Games Workshop models are to paint until you try and paint something else. Do you know what I mean? This is really good. This is better than what I could do. You know? But, yeah. Let's have a little look. What else is in the pile? Dude. That's really well. Look at that. That's super bright. I love that. That's awesome. What else we got going on? First from the pile, this one's called. Oh, okay. Some mechs. I like him. I like him. Cool, man. Maybe ink them down a little bit, but aside from that, excellent stuff. Lovely. Lovely. Love them. Keep going. Keep going. Right. I have a couple of hobby nightmares to share from 3.5 years ago. The first nightmare isn't so much scary as it is just depressing. The second, however, is a fair deal more entertaining, I think. At least I hope. I know you like to pre-read some stories, so if you do, at least keep the second story a surprise because I'd like your genuine reaction. It's nothing you haven't seen before, I don't think. Okay. So, I did keep the second one as a surprise. I've not read the second one. Alright, so we'll jump in. Story 1. My favourite friendly local game store had certain days during the week to play D&D in between tabletop wargaming and Magic the Gathering days. I was taking up the mantle of a Dungeon Master for the first time. Quite exciting, and I knew there were pitfalls to overcome as a new DM, such as sitting at a table of experienced players who are acutely aware of your freshness, some of which are min-maxes. However, I trusted all of them enough to help me with my first campaign, as I've known each of them for some time. I knew, however, in there are mistakes I would have to learn from the hard way if they ever happened. Yeah, I mean, that's GMing 101, man. If you make a mistake, roll with it, you know, learn for next time. The campaign module I picked was Wild Beyond the Witchlight. A campaign taking you through the magical and stupidly dangerous Feywild. That I later learned is a module best intended for players brand new to the game, as it very much relies on the player's ignorance to the true nature of things. As if you were in a dubious and dangerous wonderland. I had a big group of 9 players plus myself as a DM. 9 players? 9 players! As a first-time Dungeon Master, 9 players. What are you doing? A group of that size may sound intimidating, however. Half the table were experienced players who were happy to help. No, it's even worse. Dude, you're the dungeon master, you're in charge. You can't be giving responsibility to other people at the table to teach your players the rules. Right? And to maybe take control of the campaign. This is DM... I'm going to say the S word. Suicide, right? This is what this is. This was my first mistake. Not only because I thought I could rely on my friends as much as I thought, but because I saw there was a finer balance than I realised with bigger groups, only some of which is mentioned in this story. My second mistake was feeling so excited to run my first ever game that I let anyone just join in. People who I knew only as regulars to the store, but never personally interacted with them. It was just two people in my group that fit that description. I'll name Timon and Pumbaa. Timon because they were a snarky and timid meerkat, and Pumbaa a loud, stinky boar-shaped creature. Whilst that was not my first impression of them, later, however, I thought they deserved each other in some of the worst ways possible. Okay. I will have to say, mate, I completely sympathise with, you know, you going through a bad experience running your first game. Fair enough, but you did kind of bring this on yourself. You know, these are some silly decisions. Having 9 people at your first table, silly decision. Playing with people that you don't know in the first game that you're going to be running as a DM, silly decision, right? And then experienced players, you know, help, quote-unquote, other players at the tabletop when you don't know whether they're going to be taking the mick out of your story and your world and things. Again, biggest mistake in my opinion, but there we go. At least 3 huge ones, though. My third mistake was not addressing the problems that these two were causing out of fear of losing players. I know better now and have moved on after realising that my friends would still be there had I done what I should have. This couple had some domestic issues that they carried with them everywhere they went. Without making the story too long, I'll give some details instead. Every time they showed up for the session, the first thing that happened was that they got into a loudly quiet and intense argument, usually sparked by Timon. Pumbaa tried their best to calm them down politely, but always resorted to treating Timon like a child whilst doing so, in such a way that you would talk down to a child who was being awful and unreasonable, which seemed to make Timon worse sometimes, and the argument fell apart and started all over again. At times, this cost a good half hour of game time, even if they showed up a little early. I rarely heard what the argument was about, if it was about the game, or if they were dragging in some stuff that had probably happened at home and should have been left there. And I swear the group could have finished the campaign if these two hadn't wasted so much of our goddamn time. During their turn in combat, arguing. During a social encounter that they were involved in, arguing. When they weren't arguing, Timon and Pumbaa were attentive players, and I always hoped that their increasing interest would distract them from real life long enough to immerse themselves. Dude, this is the worst relationship ever. Oh my god. Sometimes when they arrived, they looked like they were overwrought or exhausted, and instead of assuring that they were okay, or just saying what they were feeling, instead, they were quite rude to my other players when asked. Either ignoring them with mean looks, or making dismissive noises. Then later explaining why they were so awful and mean without apologising. Do you remember last week when I did that video on, like, people using mental health as an excuse? Right? This is the same thing. You've had a bad day, have you? I don't care. I don't care. Do not treat me like a piece of crap. I couldn't care less what kind of a day you've had. Treat me like an asshole, that I will treat you like one. Whatever you do to me, I give back twice. That is just how I am. If you give me love and support, you get it back twice from me. I will be one of your most loyal friends. Right? But also, if I meet you and you just don't vibe with me, like in the way that you're being rude and being a bit of an ass, I'll probably give that back to you twofold. I'll be like, okay, right, you're done. I'm not going to be around you, right? I'm sorry, I'm having a bad day. I don't care. I don't care. You have one opportunity to make a good first impression, mate, and you've squandered it, so go away. I have a personal gripe about eating at the game table when the game has already started. Snacks and drinks are fine, but full meals from the fast food restaurant next door is another thing. I love the fact you put a TM there with the fast food restaurant. And they always grab the biggest diabetes-inducing cure hunger in Africa scale. Whale mouth size. American meals you can obtain from said restaurant. I'm guessing you mean McDonald's, but there we go. It was always distracting because the space they took up often a portion of the gaming mat with their food. They ate loudly, their food often stank with a rank sauce, and had poor table manners like the wild animals they were. Burping, farting, spitting, not cleaning up whatever mess they made except with a dry napkin, and leaving the store staff to clean up the saucy, crumbly stain if no one else did. Dude, why are you putting up with this? I forgot how frustrating this was. One time, Pumbaa was eating their own 2,000 calorie Jabba the Hutt portion meal, whilst I was just sat across from them explaining game rules to Timon. Pumbaa let out a quiet burp. They thinned their lips enough to not make so much noise, but I unfortunately streamed an invisible cloud of breath right into my face, and in the middle of explaining game mechanics, my body convulsed from the terrible miasma that assailed my sense of smell that had already been damaged earlier in my life. I never thought I would smell breath so bad that I had to try and hold down my own lunch and take a moment for myself. I tried to laugh it off with a "fuck you for that, by the way," and continued where I was, but I still hadn't recovered, and I could tell Pumbaa looked ashamed of themselves. Dude, I don't care. Get out my game. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that there are so many of these hobby nightmares where after a certain amount of time, you're the nightmare. I'm serious. After a certain amount of time of just putting up with this, you're the issue. You're the issue. They're not the issue. Like, these people just exist. You know, absolute mouth breathers exist in the world. Simply how it is. They just exist. Yeah? They just exist. But you indulging them again and again means you're the hobby nightmare for the people around you, right? You need to get these people away from your game. Gatekeep like there is no tomorrow is what you need to be doing. Not appeasing people and letting them get away with stuff like this. At some point in the middle of the campaign, my group had shrunk to half of what it was. Yeah, I wonder why. All but 2 of the experienced players left to start their own games with others in the store, and I could not have blamed them. They never said why, and I never asked. Today, we still play together, taking turns being the DM, and I am a lot happier for it. After the super stank incident, I finally broke and confided in my remaining friends in the group on what to do, as I believed I must have been a bad DM, or just a bad person, with people leaving my game so readily. To put it simply, the conversation was between how I can improve as a DM and what everybody else was already thinking. So, I made a firm but polite Discord message to Pumbaa that their behaviour at my table was not tolerable anymore, and that I made the executive decision to drop both of them from the group. Wow! Okay. Wow. Wow, okay. They took exception to that, called me rude, and then blocked me. Fortunately, without encountering further drama from either of them. I have yet to see or hear about them today. I have learned a fair bit from this experience, and don't try so hard to be the good DM you hear about in successful podcasts, and instead, I just be myself. Meanwhile, taking laughter and engagement as good signs that I'm doing something right. I'll always regret the way I tried to run my first game, as if trying to make everybody happy, and the module is still too fresh in everyone's mind to try and run it again. Wow. Well, at least you put the hammer down. You know? That's the important thing. The hammer came down, dude, and that's fine. Well done to you for, you know, making a point, making a stand. Good for you. Story number 2. When I first started playing D&D, it was with school friends, and we didn't really know the rules or my own. Sorry, I'll start that again because clearly I'm a numbskull and I don't know how to read. Okay, story 2. When I first started playing D&D, it was with school friends, and we didn't really know the rules or own any of the books. We just knew that the D20 was what you used to pick pockets and seduce wenches. 3.5 years ago was my first real experience with D&D. I had stuck in with a group of people I hadn't known before, fully experiencing the worst out of a few of them. I am happy that I had only encountered a few of the weirdos you'd always hear about on the internet, and this story is about one of them. We'll call this one Rabbit. There's a good explanation for the name, just stay with me. If any of my pals are listening to this, they'll know what I'm talking about. Oh, these are always the good ones. The urban legends. Before I continue, I just want to say that rabbits seem the type to read and listen to RPG horror story type media, and that I don't really care if Rabbit finds out who I am. They deserve every bit of heat that comes their way. Ooh, okay. Alright, I'm in. I'm locked in. I'm ready for this. Okay. Alright. My first interaction with Rabbit was when I was at my local friendly game store during Friday Night Magic with my then roommate. I was teaching her how to play Magic the Gathering. We were having fun until I saw an individual with the gait of a penguin waddle up to our out-of-the-way table. He was staring at my roommate with a big grin on his face, and we stared back at him in a weird silence in a relatively loud gaming room. He was the scrawny type who seemed to have somehow failed physical education class, had unkempt greasy hair, wore the same black shirt and red denim trousers. I could tell he sat on his ass all day because when he turns around you can see a dark and worn smear across the rear. I find out later that he's not only 25, but looks like a bare-faced teenager without even the shitty corner stash on the top of his lip. And I'm talking bare, like he never ever needed to shave. Because, you know, there's nothing there. Hi, I'm Rabbit. What are you playing tonight? A normal question, if it wasn't somehow tainted by awkward undertones and bad breath. My roomie responded with a shy affirmative whilst trying to remain polite, as she was always clearly nervous and looked like she was about ready to bolt from her seat. That's awesome, he said. But like... Mr. Exile, I lost a good 5 minutes of my life listening to this homunculus tell his life story, which consisted of how much high school sucked, how he's too poor to buy anything because he won't stop buying the Gundam figures the store sold, the litany of mental illnesses he probably doesn't have, and how bad he is with women, but he'd like a shot with her. As if that was somehow endearing coming from a guy that had just made me want to shove his head into a washing machine just to rid the filth that was visually assaulting me. Dude, man, like, you just... Calm down. Bro's shooting his shot, man. Calm down. I mean, are you sure you didn't have feelings for this roommate? That's a visceral reaction. Yeah, again, this is just a weirdo, dude, but like, it doesn't seem to be harmful to me so far. Listen, if approaching a woman and asking her for a number is toxic, then what are we doing here, right? You know what I'm saying? Has he done it in the wrong way? Yes, but what else do you expect? He's bumbling, he doesn't know what he's doing, you know. He's laying out a pity party, you know. This is the most unattractive way to approach a woman. I honestly think approaching a woman and kicking her in the shins and asking her to dance is preferable to what this guy's doing. But I think a lot of it is basically, he's got issues. He's got issues. But one of the issues he doesn't have is the ability, you know, the confidence to go up to a girl. So I applaud him for that. I applaud Rabbit for having the tenacity to actually approach a woman in a hobby store. Good for him. The way he's doing it could use a lot of work. But you know, again, dude, if approaching a woman around you evokes this kind of reaction, you either want to get her in a pants yourself, or like you think he's stepping on your territory in some way. You know what I mean? You should just sit back and let this happen. It's funny, right? It's a funny story. Nothing's gonna happen to your friend with you sitting there, right? Just sit back and laugh. Sit back and laugh. Or even help the guy out, you know? Anyway. I would have drowned most of it out or just stopped the guy in his tracks, but North. I have only heard of guys like this on the internet, and I was morbidly fascinated. It was like an animal had escaped the zoo. I was angry and curious. Why were you angry? That's what I don't understand. What? Why were you angry? Suddenly, at the end of His Majesty's coronation of perma-virginity, he slammed his palms on the table, all cinematic-like, and loudly proclaimed, "Basically, I'm a psychopath." Okay. Then he crossed his arms and stood straight and proud, like when he thought he did something noteworthy. Which he did, just for different reasons. No one else noticed the social suicide that was happening, and a long moment of uncomfortable silence passed between us despite the noise around us. After that, I decided I'd had enough of this thing clattering his plaque-covered meat flap at us. Dude's got poetic license, I'll give him that. Whilst blubbering spittle and bad breath, and shouted just loud enough to not be mistaken by Rabbit in the din of the game night with, and I quote, "If all you're gonna do is oogle girls at the game store instead of sitting down and playing games with the rest of us, you can go fuck yourself." Unquote. Alright, okay. I am gonna read the rest of this, because I have a feeling this is gonna kick off. I want you to be honest with it. Email me back. Right? Email me back. Did you have feelings for your roommate? Because this right here is not a normal reaction. If I'm sitting in a game store with my missus, and somebody comes over and does this, I am pissing myself laughing. And I won't show it. On the inside, I'll be absolutely thrilled. Just creasing inside, right? And I'd let the guy try. I'd be like, yeah, why not? You know, she's a beautiful woman. Why wouldn't you? I would. You know, yeah. I mean, you know. But obviously, she then says, "No, I'm with somebody. Thank you." You know. But at least the guy, he shoots his shot, and it's fine, and everybody's happy. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he learns a bit. You know. Maybe if he's nice about it. Okay, it doesn't seem like this guy is any threat to you. If he's nice about it, I say, "Listen, man, I'm actually a boyfriend. You got balls like coming up to a woman, which is good in a store, but like there are a few things you need to work on, man. Even if she was single, she wouldn't have gone for this, you know." And most guys like this want to learn. They'd be like, "Oh well, what should I do?" Right? Especially if he's autistic or something, dude. Autistic people, one thing also, they always want to learn. Always. Like they are ravenous for knowledge. They always want to learn new things. You know? So if you just sit there and go, especially if he is autistic, and go, "Listen, I can tell you what to do," but you know, you could have like, there are so many hobby nightmares where I'm like, dude, you could have made a friend here. And maybe reformed somebody. It's up to us as normies to reform lads in the hobby who are struggling. It's up to us. Right? We're the dads here. We're the big brothers here. You know, if you're decent looking, you've got a girl on your arm, right? You need to pay that forwards and try and, if you can. I'm not saying go out of your way, but if somebody comes up to you and like does something like this, maybe just make a comment or two to encourage them and say, "Listen, man, good on you for having the moxie to come over and, you know, talk to a beautiful woman. Well done to you." But like, there are a few things you should work on there, like, because even if she was single, I'm telling you now, she wouldn't have gone for this. You know. Again, you know, it just is what it is. It's what it is. But I don't think I would have acted this way. You need to tell me. I honestly think you were kind of into this girl, because your reactions are very volatile. Very volatile. Anyway. Rabbit was taken off guard, yet no shit, and looked at me as if he'd just noticed I was there. That had seemed to work, and he ran off. I did get a few looks and had to explain a couple of times that he was being rude and making my roommate nervous. That night, my roommate made an executive decision to never come back to the store again. The noise was already something she had to contend with, and finding a fabled game store troglodyte was too much for her. Which sucked, because she was very addicted and excited to attend our D&D session that night. She was curious and excited about casting spells and slaying dragons. She now thinks half the people who visit game stores on the regular are just like him, because she too had heard the horror stories from the internet. Which, if I'm honest, she's not even that wrong. I sorely wish some of the folks like Rabbit would shower before they stink up my favourite game store. A week goes by, and guess what? Rabbit is at our D&D table loudly declaring that he's joining us, much to my dismay. My group were fine with the prospect and none of them had met him yet. We had a spot open, so the DM said, hey, why not? North, I was grimacing so much that my group had noticed and asked if I was okay. I didn't want to just outright blurt that what Rabbit had done just yet. Dude, do you know why? Because he hasn't done anything wrong. Like, okay, he hasn't done anything wrong. He approached a woman who he found attractive. He did it in a stupid way that was not very well done at all. You're right. But he's not done anything abhorrent. He's not broken any social cues. Do you know what I mean? Dearie me. North, a dark part of me wanted my buddies to experience the majesty that was this dumpster fire of an individual. So I told them, ugh, you'll find out. You could call it a practical inside joke between us. Okay. Well, I hope this isn't that mean-spirited because, like, you know, we got to help the bros out every now and again. It is what it is. It is what it is. Okie dokie. Right. At this point, we were 3 sessions into our scuffed and off-the-rails sandbox campaign. Our group of now 5 consisted of a tiefling warlock, a human wizard, me, the Kenku rogue, a human cleric, and finally Rabbit, the rabbit folk bard. This was only half the reason he was called Rabbit, by the way. Our cleric was in an arena fighting a monster for money, whilst the rest of the party watched in the stadium full of people. About half the fight was finished before Rabbit shouts over to the dungeon master, I'm going to play my harmonica. I roll performance for money. DM. In the arena? Rabbit. Yes. DM. You know everybody is too busy watching the cleric fight the monster and will probably... I'll do it anyway. The DM decides to go easy on him and gets a couple of guards to get Rabbit to knock it off. Dude, that's terrible GMing. What are you doing? What are you doing? No, let him play his harmonica and have the people around him join in and give him a few coins. If more than one person can have a moment at a time... Oh, dude, come on. It just seems that this guy's being picked on. I don't know if it's... Is it me? Is it me? Like, am I going crazy? Let me know in the comment section. I don't know. Am I going crazy? At this point, I had noticed that when Rabbit wasn't in the spotlight of things, he'd either play on his phone, or try to shout over everybody to do something he thought would be cool, or shout out an idea that he thinks someone else's character should do. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, yeah, that's bad behaviour. The combat with the cleric and monster continued, and it's down to the wire. Despite it being a chump change fight that passed the time, it actually got intense for the group, up until Rabbit pipes up with the most brilliant of ideas. Oh, can't wait. Whilst the rest of the party had nothing to do except watch, we had a side conversation going on. Memes, jokes, recent events. During the conversation, we kept quoting Tropic Thunder. Stop! Stop. 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 Hypocrisy alert. So, you've just had a go at Rabbit being on his phone whilst other people are trying to play the game, right? Okay. There's a fight going on with one of your friends having a moment in the campaign, and you guys are talking about memes and joking amongst yourselves, not paying attention to what's going on. That's very rude. You are doing what you just accused Rabbit of doing. But it's worse because there's multiple of you doing it. If I was your friend, the cleric, I'd feel really self-conscious right now. And like I'm wasting everybody's time. Just saying. Just saying. Alright. Memes, jokes, recent events, that kind of thing. During the conversation... Dude, why are you having a conversation? We kept quoting Tropic Thunder when Robert Downey Jr. said, and I quote, "Everybody knows you never go full retard," unquote. At that moment, Rabbit piped up with a finger in the air. "I'm going to inspire the monster with my bardic inspiration ability." This witch-nosed mother effer, so fresh to the party, decides to help the monster and successfully stun the table into silence. Yes! I don't know why I'm cheering for him. He's the only guy playing. All of you guys are being ignorant. Dude, I'm really sorry, right? But in this part of your hobby, like, mate, Rabbit's correct. He's playing the game. He's creating a fun moment. He's doing things. He's engaging with Cleric's story. You are not. You are sitting there having a conversation about Tropic Thunder. Loudly, probably. Our Cleric falls down defeated. Our Cleric falls down defeated as the monster used the inspiration die to barely surpass the Cleric's armor class. Outrage ensued. Yes! I want to adopt this guy, man. I want him in my garage. Just to let him troll people. We had huge bets going on for the Cleric. That's even better. That's even better. We had huge bets going on for the Cleric, and Rabbit gets flamed for being an idiot. Meanwhile, he had a shit-eating grin on his face. Dude, we need... Rabbit is now the title for somebody who is so bottom of the barrel that they become endearing. Have you ever been to a nightclub that's so bad it's actually good? Right? That's Rabbit as a person. He's so ignorant and so unwilling to abide by society's rules that he actually goes around and becomes cool again. That's amazing. That's amazing. Suddenly, I get a couple of sympathetic looks as they now realise why I was glaring at Rabbit. I point a knife at Rabbit and declare, "You just went full retard." That at least broke the tension a little bit at the table, and we all burst out laughing. Except for the Cleric, who was reasonably upset that now they can't afford better gear. From then on, the term "going full Rabbit" was coined. Forever set in stone to gatekeep moronic behaviour at our table. Dude, but you have a moment that you wouldn't have had if it weren't for Rabbit. You all laughed, apart from the Cleric, but you all laughed, right? It's great. This is brilliant. Understandably, the DM sends guards after Rabbit's character. He then starts pulling spells and abilities out of his ass. I love this guy. He then starts... Sorry. He just doesn't stop. I love him. He then starts pulling spells and abilities out of it. Do you know what makes it even funnier? That I can sense how angry you are typing this. It's just tickling me. He then starts pulling spells and abilities out of his ass. Things totally made up, or stuff his character couldn't use, just so his character could win. Unfortunately, despite his attempt to use an uncommon, mostly unused player race and obscure spells, he was shut down by experienced players who knew better than him. Fair enough. At this point, I was half convinced this warranted an uninvitation to the table, but I also knew the rest of the group loved messing with each other. Rabbit was not safe. Hazing of newcomers was common as a litmus test to see if somebody was a good fit for the group. Now, we didn't do anything like spaghetti down the shirt or thumbtacks in the hair, etc. It was all just in-game stuff. Charming the lone charisma character to seduce the tavern wench. That kind of thing. Pushing each other's characters into traps. And our personal favourite, using prestidigate. What? Prestidigitation. I don't know what that word is. Prestigation. Prestigation. Dude. I am fucking retarded. What's wrong with me? I don't know what this word is. Okay. Using whatever that is to shit someone else's pants for them. Okay, well, alright. But you see, nothing was so egregious as the crime Rabbit had committed, messing with the party funds. So the DM dogpiled guards and angry arena patrons onto Rabbit's character, and they were beaten within an inch of their life. After the Cleric was revived, The arena owner gave Rabbit a choice: pay your fine, or go to jail, or be indentured. He refused to pay any money and wouldn't explain why. He wouldn't go to jail because he made arguments about how innocent he is with mental gymnastics only he understood. So it was an indentured service then. To the cleric, of all people. The party forked over a hefty sum to buy Rabbit, only to put a magical collar on Rabbit's character after he thanked us for freeing him. It didn't let the bard cast any spells without permission, and any time the person who was attuned to the magic item said his character's name, he would teleport in front of them. All the while this was happening, Rabbit was hooting and hollering fringe rules and bullshit rulings as to why he should not be bound this way. But every time he just kept digging himself into a deeper hole. I know this sounds a little extreme, but it really was a consequence of their combined words and actions, constantly trying to use spells and abilities to get away and refusing to cooperate with the party in general. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So for the rest of this character's short-lived life, he performed on the street corner for our money, sprung all the traps in the dungeon, and was the general party punching bag. Again, not for no good reason. No. This is starting to taste sour now. I'm not sure I'm with you on this one, man. I mean, the joke, maybe for half a session, or you can keep the collar on him, right? Keep the collar on him, which is fine, and don't use it that often, right? Use it as a quirk in the game. Yeah, you use it as a quirk in the game to have some fun with him, and to teach him how to cooperate with the party, right? That's what you do. What you've done is you've used it as a tool to bully him. Not great, right? He performs on the street for your pleasure and your money, and you force him into springing all of the traps in the dungeon before your characters have to go in. You use him as the party punching bag. That's bullying. That's not hazing, that's bullying. Alright? You know, we're starting to... It's a bit too much. Again, all you do is you teach him a lesson saying you're now bound to us, whatever, but you use the collar only when he misbehaves. Or when he starts doing mental stuff, you know, but you encourage him to get better. And maybe the cleric and him should form an unlikely friendship. You know? Like Samwise Gamgee and Frodo kind of a thing. That's the way to do it. But whatever you're doing here just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Anyway. He just kept coming up with new and stupid ways to dig himself deeper or attempt some harebrained scheme to do something moronic. Like challenging a giant to a drinking contest and then trying to poison them in front of everybody without a plan. Or trying to use a shield to surf down a cliffside that was a 92-degree slope. Or even using an ability to walk over fluids to traverse lava, then dying to the fire damage. Whilst Rabbit's characters did not last very long, we had a good laugh each time they died spectacularly or horribly. However, it was becoming apparent as we went on that Rabbit did not have a good grasp of the Dungeons and Dragons rules and refused to learn them. When at first we just teased Rabbit, then had a laugh about it, it devolved to snapping at Rabbit after repeating the same rule on multiple occasions. Yeah, I can see how that gets annoying. Or when he screams over everybody, and I mean screams during an important moment, to say something unrelated or something cool that could happen to his character. Or when he's playing on his phone, playing loud games on his Nintendo Switch, or getting annoying, almost annoyingly, brings Lego sets to build, then flicks pieces across the table. Yeah, okay, I'm with you on this one. Yeah, this is not great behaviour. Yeah, I'm with you. I am with you. Eventually, the Rabbit snapped at us, saying we were bullying him after his umpteenth character was killed by another player because he was trying to steal from another player's unconscious body. He slammed the table and tried picking up his stacks of books that he never used except as dinner trays for his meals. Then he said he was leaving, then sat right back down and sulked for the rest of the session, complaining how he thought about his character for weeks, and how he dug through the annals of tabletop from yore to find the most obscure player races to use in our campaign, what cool combos he wanted to use, and what have you. Then eventually brought up every single little thing we did to him that he perceived as a personal attack. Needless to say, everything we thought of him was dumped onto his head as well, and he denied ever being a bad team player and blamed his idiotic ideas on us for any given reason. That seems to finally do something, because I never saw a rabbit at the same table ever again, and our campaign dramatically improved. Okay. I think this was a incompatibility issue, yes, but I also think that you guys really didn't give this dude much of a chance to reform his ways. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't know. In retrospect, I could have probably had a bit more balls and spoke up that maybe Rabbit was not a good fit for the table, but at the time I was still relatively new to the group and only a few weeks more familiar than Rabbit had been, and hadn't taken everyone's measure just yet. The campaign eventually ended and we moved on. This next bit of the story takes place during the events of the first story. Past this point, Rabbit's presence at the game store had become something like an internet cryptid you'd hear about in any game store. Every so often I'd hear Rabbit's name come up in conversation, and I'd always ask, oh, what did he do this time? And it was always something expected of him. Like once he tried flirting with an older mother by offering to pay for her son's Pokemon booster packs, then flirt with her by telling her about his rare Pokemon trades. Dude, why do I like this guy? Why? I don't know why. Again, he's so far gone that he's harmless. He's so far gone that I'm just like, yeah, that's my guy. that's my G. Look at him. Look at him trying to pull with his Pokemon card. You go, Rabbit. Go on, son. Go on. Brilliant. It works every time. You know, if you like a woman, pay for a child's Pokemon cards, then, you know, show the mother your Pokemon cards. Gets them every time. Gets them every time. Oh my god. Anyway. Then saying he'd love to capture her in his Pokeball. Oh, I love this guy. Can you please put him in a crate and just send him to Liverpool, please? I have a store I'd like to put him in, and we'll just give him like a flat above the store, and he can just come down and entertain us all. That would be amazing. But that amazing conversational point was stained by the fact that it would also flirt down as well, with girls half his age. Okay, right, okay, we're getting into shithouse territory. Okay. That news quickly spread like wildfire, and Rabbit got a warning from the store manager about his behaviour towards other patrons. This did not stop him from following women he'd see walk through up to the front and leering at them by pretending to browse the store. Thankfully, he stopped there when another patron growled at him for staring. At this point, Rabbit had been visiting the game store many times a week, was in almost every D&D table probably doing the same shenanigans. Slowly, he either left or was removed from every table he was at, until one remained. Well, okay, I'm with you on that one, dude. Yeah, some of his behaviour is clearly crossing the line. I rescind my offer. Don't have him over here. I don't want him around vulnerable teens and stuff. No, this guy's a weirdo. But at the same time, some of the things you were getting really annoyed at are just funny. Just very, very funny. This campaign was one run by my buddies on a separate day to mine, and this was where it went from bad to worse for the story of Rabbit. One of my buddies and his girlfriend attended this session weekly. I'll call my buddy Nick. Nick and his girl hadn't been together since before the session 1 and got together after some time. Meanwhile, Rabbit had taken a particular liking to her. Okay, alright, well. Again, no crime in that, I suppose. Rabbit had then become spiteful and bitter towards Nick because of their relationship, always randomly throwing spells at Nick's character. Oh, sorry. Making snide comments about Nick as a person, saying things like, "You barely got her," or "She'd be better off with a real man." As if he was the prime candidate. I love this guy again. Rabbit would repeatedly try to come on to Nick's girlfriend, and when Nick wasn't there, with awful social gestures, like asking her out on dates, to begging her to break up with Nick. Okay, yeah, again, it's flip-flops, man. There are some things this guy does that are really endearing, but just stupid and toxic. Whereas, like, there are other things where I'm like, okay, that's crossing many lines. Nick is a cool guy, but I'm convinced he wouldn't hurt Rabbit's cartoonishly thin body if his girlfriend wasn't there to keep him calm and out of jail when Rabbit eventually came around to insulting Nick's relationship. This had been going on for months, every session. If you're asking me, why the hell is this guy still around? North, I have no damn clue why they tolerated him for so long. I said the same thing, incredulous but ultimately unable to do anything because it isn't my group. Only able to share my opinion, and that was it. However, with a not exaggerated sigh, he was finally kicked from the group after Nick threatened to leave if Rabbit didn't. Some months later, I had introduced a female to male trans friend to the local game store scene, and he got into a game that I wasn't in. Oh, female to male? Okay, female to male, okay. I thought you just gave him the wrong sex there. Ooh. And god damn it, wouldn't you know, it's your boy, Full Rabbit. We'll call them Liam. As in your friend's called Liam, okay. Rabbit had immediately tried to come on to Liam. You guys, he's a rascal. He's a rascal. He's after him. Oh my god. Somebody throw a bucket of ice on this man. Rabbit immediately tried to come on to Liam. Only Liam knew Rabbit from back in high school and wasn't taking their shit. Because Liam loved the group he was in so much, they decided to suffer through it. Again, for months. From what Liam had told me, Rabbit's hygiene had worsened to the point of smelling like days-old virgin bad sweat and stove grease. Oh god. I know what that smell is, man. Yeah, that's horrible. They managed to scare a different new person from the store forever. More than a few times, begging and demanding that they have sex with Liam. Spreading rumours about people he didn't like in the game store, which oddly didn't include me or anyone in the original group. Then inviting random women into the game store to join the campaign, for reasons we all know why. Liam had enough. We had all had enough. And the store manager wasn't banning this walking, talking sludge pit. So one day, I drove to the game store, only to sit at Liam's table, at Liam's request. Everybody at this table was too meek and anxious to say anything to Rabbit, and I have garnered a reputation for telling it how it is, I suppose. So when Rabbit sat down, and I let him settle in and get laid out, he was banned from the table. North, good God, I wanted him to scream in outrage. I wanted him to complain loudly, explode in explanation about his not being accountable, just so I could slay this beast once and for all. Instead, he looked at everybody, apologised that he's late all the time, then picked up his stuff and left. No thank yous, no apologising for smelling like a barrel of cat piss. No damn response to being the slug of a human being. The rest of the group was similarly confused. In the end, we still laugh about Rabbit and his antics, and I haven't seen him since then, and neither has Nick nor Liam. Cheers. Epic. What an epic... Dude, I've even forgotten what your bloody name is now. Jordan, well done, mate. That was brilliant. Absolutely. Absolutely. A really, really, really well-written nightmare. Well done to you, sir. That was hilarious. I'm going to be honest, like... I flip-flopped there so hard, because there were some times where... There were whole slews of that Harvey Nightmare where you were, like, so harsh to him for, like, things that are, like, you know, kind of weird, but, you know, also kind of endearing. But there are other things that he was doing that were really toxic that you only just started throwing in there towards the end. And it made me feel bad for laughing with this guy. But, you know, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. You know, and at least he's no longer there, and keep everybody safe around him. I rescind my offer to take him on my side of the water. No, you can keep him over there in Wyoming. Thank you. In the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Go keep him over there. Thank you very much. Right. I love you a long time. I will speak to you tomorrow with a wonderful, wonderful video with a good friend of the channel, Mr. Amber King, we're going to be going over some 40k lore and what's going on in the hobby right now. But have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one. Bye now.